The 2024 Honda Passport Trail Sport. The Passport is about to receive a brand new generation, which will be built on their latest iteration of Honda's full-size SUV architecture. This Passport is built on the prior generation. Now, I'm going to be talking about this vehicle as a new purchase. However, you can also use this video as a light buyer's guide for all the various other Passport model years. Now, for 2024, they made some minor updates to the interior space and they changed some trim levels. This vehicle starts at $41,900, fully loaded, you're under 50 grand. Most of the dealers for a new car are charging between $3,000 to $4,000 under sticker. Most of the used prices for this, for like a 2019, for 2020 that haven't been in accidents and are reasonably low mileage, are in the mid to high 30s, making this a pretty reasonable used purchase. Reasons you're going to buy this as a used car, we're going to talk about in the shop. From an exterior perspective, this looks a lot like the old generation Pilot. Obviously, the Trail Sport means it's off-road capable, so you have some all-terrain tires, some smaller wheels, some skid plates underneath, some tough exterior styling. The interior space, just view this as a two-row Pilot. Honestly, it's what it is. So with the rear seats down, you're well over 60 cubic feet of cargo capacity. With the rear seats up, you can fit all sorts of knickknacks. This is a very usable interior space. The doors have minivan-like storage. Honestly, a lot of the interior styling of this car is very minivan-esque, which is not a bad thing. For this model year, for 2024, you get the same infotainment screen as you used to, so you don't get the bigger screen that's now used on the current generation Pilot, or of course, the updates they made to the Ridgeline. However, they have changed the center console area, so you get a bigger armrest, you get a wireless charging pad, and honestly, that's it. The interior space is essentially all carryover. Compared to the current generation Pilot, it's a little noisier, a little less refined, but it's still a very pleasant space to be in. Seats are comfortable. They are only heated, at least in this Trail Sport trim. They fit a wide variety of body types. You have good visibility. It's all the things you're looking for in a full-sized two-row SUV. Mark, we're in the shop with the 2024 Honda Passport Trail Sport. What is a Trail Sport? It is their off-road trim level. Think of it as the wilderness trim for the Honda SUVs. You can get a Trail Sport in things like the new Pilot or the Ridgeline. When it comes to ground clearance, you're not working with little or a lot. It's 8.1. Compare that to the Wilderness Forester, which is like 9.2 inches, albeit this is bigger than, say, the
Sorento.
Or the Sorento.
But it's also less than the CX-50, which we're trying to figure out the direct competitors to this. And let's be fair, all these brands are spinning up these kind of trail versions of their vehicles.
Full-size two-row SUVs.
Yeah, that's not body on frame. So you still get the good ride quality. It's softer without having that jouncy feeling of a truck, but still giving you, like, obviously these all-terrain tires do help in mud and most of the dirty conditions that suburban drivers are doing for camping and all that. So I get it why it's here. They also make some changes like giving you a skid plate over the oil pan. And then what else did they change for the Trail Sport?
For 24 specifically, 24 is a very mild refresh. They changed some things in the interior, which I already talked about. They revised spring rates, sway bars, and dampers. This is on the old Pilot architecture. This is the second generation of the body structure, where the new Pilot and MBX is on the newer one, which is, better in accidents, quieter, better suspension.
Yeah, it's everything. So it's a good thing to, one of the reasons why we want to do this is we can compare the old one to the new one, and you can definitely talk about the evolution of what this is. Now, clearly, if you're buying this, you're probably not going to care about all the technical details. A lot of this has been around forever. The main reason you would consider this, and we're going to talk about it in the drive, is when you look at the underbody of this, aside from the skid plate, getting to the oil pan is easy. Getting to the oil filter is easy. Getting to all the serviceable items of this is much different than a lot of modern cars that are covered up with every single splash shield. So doing basic service is going to be a pleasure.
Yes.
It's a car that you're probably going to look at owning for quite a long time, and you have their tried and true V6. Granted, again, VCM. You have independent rear suspension, which is something you don't find on the CX-50, and there's a lot of room back there. And it's also responsible for much better ride quality and better ride quality in the back half of this.
You get torque factoring in this vehicle as well.
Yes. So the on-demand all-wheel drive systems.
In the all-wheel drive configurations.
Correct. So there's so much here that you're looking at this not as like that, oh, I'm going to get it and keep it for a couple years and trash it. This is the vehicle. Okay, it may not be the latest and greatest technology, but it's a lot of the best things that Honda used to do. And the reliability package over maybe some of the refinement over the better driving of the newer trims or newer models.
If you get one of these slightly used, in the mid-30s, you'll be really, really happy with what this thing is offering for this price point. So with that, Mark, let's go take this for a quick drive.
Sounds good. Jack, you're a family man. You need a 2-row Honda SUV that has an engine that does some serious woofing.
Gotta turn off AC, Mark, to get maximum power.
Oh boy, I miss that sweet tonality. So we're not gonna bore people with the technical parts of this. We need to talk about, because the Passport is on the previous generation architecture of this before all the improvements, and I've done a long-term Passport series, and I'm still doing Pilot. So I have more Pilot videos to do, but compared to this and what they did for the updates, I think the one thing I will say about this is just going down the highway, it's incredibly soft.
Yes.
It's a very smooth, soft vehicle. It is not as quiet as the updated vehicles. There's more tire noise. There's more wind noise.
I still don't think, despite it being soft, I don't think it rides as well as the new vehicle does either.
Yeah, so you can see generationally the improvements that they made. The big question is, because you're going to go into a dealership and you're going to have some good negotiating power with this car and the Ridgeline, is this still relevant for people, and is this a good deal? Because this engine is 150% tried and true.
Yes.
This engine will last forever, and I know people bemoan the whole timing belt thing, which is really the way that this engine's packaged in the bay. Most mechanics that have done it can get it done in 45 minutes. Even that is not a big complaint. Obviously, you have the VCM stuff, which might scare certain people. Some of the start-stop stuff, which you can turn off, but really, this thing has been out and around for a cajillion years.
So I think there's two debates. Well, first off, quickly, from the people don't know how this thing drives. Past 23, they all came as all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive in the Passport, mainly for off-road capability, and this can do light trails and light rock crawling. And the Trail Sport Edition gets a torque vectoring rear differential. Honda's a different acronym for it versus Acura, but it can torque vector in the back, which helps this thing get in and out of corners. It yaws it out a little bit. So it does handle fairly decently. 9-speed ZF, not a great gearbox, but it seems to be fine for a vehicle like this. You're not going to be going flat out everywhere. It's reasonably smooth around town. So with that out of the way, as a new purchase, just briefly looking online at like Auto Tempest and seeing what's available locally, they're $3,000 to $4,000 off sticker, so you can get a Trail Sport for like $40,000 or $41,000 for a new car with new car financing.
Right.
If you get a used car, a year or two old, these things lose between like $10,000 and $15,000 depending on the mileage. Fucking maniac. As we understeer to a curb on these all-terrains.
No.
Yeah, and then there's a new purchase. Let's say mid to low 30s for a reasonably new one. How do you think this thing stacks up for that kind of money? Because the new Pilot's in the 40s.
The new Pilot is in the 40s.
And this is like 40, 41.
I'm going to say it's probably a hard sell for most people. You're going to come into this for two reasons. And I talked to the owners of Brilliance Honda by us, and they're like, we really can do a good job with people that come in here. That's definitely, you're going to get a good price on it new. So you have that. You also have the fact that you don't have to get this fully loaded, and when you get down to the lower trim levels, it becomes a much better value.
Yeah, it's like sub 40.
Yes, and the big thing is the V6, right? Like Toyota's killed off their V6s in almost all their commodity cars. Honda is one of the very few brands that's offering a V6 without having turbocharging, without the floor popper. And I know I'm making excuses for this, and definitely it feels dated. It's kind of boaty compared to the new ones. It's not as refined. The handling is not there like the new Pilot. I mean, it's
new
like,
Pilot's a better car.
Yes, it is. And the CRV is a better car than where this was too. But I mean, if you value V6, super soft, big, It is big.
They're way bigger than a CRV.
It is very comfortable, and
Yes.
most of the ergonomics are not screwed up in here. It's very usable. It's
Basically minivan. on the
It's
inside.
not minivan, but it's 75% the way there for a family vehicle. If you're just looking for that tried and true, like old dog.
But we're
style.
comparing Hondas.
Yes.
If you want to broaden your perspective,
Then you get in trouble. You know, I don't want to make the excuses, but yeah, you're in trouble because there's so many options.
CX-50,
Yes.
Forester, Outback.
Almost everything drives better, like dynamically. I'm not even talking about dynamics like sporty. I'm just saying the ability to get this thing where it doesn't feel very boaty. Almost every other brand is like the next generation products have done the soft and the dynamics better, and even Honda does that. So, you know, if that's a huge problem, and I know the Forester argument is going to be there. What's
but that's
the other
a
argument?
four-popper with the CVT.
True, exactly. You're getting a regular torque-converted auto and a
CX-50.
V6. CX-50 is a much better driving car than this.
Yes, but it rides way worse.
Yes, the CX-50 it's weird, is a different type of vehicle. But what about the CX-5, which I know is not as big as this?
The CX-5 is much smaller. It's not as off-road capable as this is, allegedly at least.
Yeah, nobody's doing
Allegedly,
that.
yeah, I
Nobody's
know.
doing that.
Well, dude, I don't know. You can go camping
As
with
a
the kids or
family
something.
hauler, right?
Yeah.
You're buying this as a family haul. You're not buying it for anything else other than doing your A to B
It's
stuff.
just, it's a better driving car, but it's too small, and it's a four-popper.
The CX-5.
CX-5.
Okay.
It drives better, dynamically. You know, rides. It doesn't necessarily ride us up, but it doesn't feel as boaty. But it's really, really tiny. I mean, in this size vehicle, you're basically Forester, in my opinion. CX-50. I mean, most people, if you like buying these things, are cross-shopping the American options. You're staying Japanese or Korean. Would you buy like a slightly used Palisade or this? I mean, the Palisade's bigger.
Dude,
but
yeah, to me personally, it's a really hard sell. I would be, because of its age, I would be on the used market on this, or I would try to beat up a dealership to get the maximum, new car, because the depreciation curve on this, much like the other Hondas, is not extreme.
No, it's there though.
It's going to depreciate, but it's not going to be like a rock. And I think you choose this because you know you're going to keep it for a long time. I think that's its biggest advantage, and
It's like the old Toyota argument. The reason you bought older Toyotas is you knew, yes, they didn't drive that well in their segment, but you could keep them forever. And I think that's I know it's an excuse, and it's true, but that's why you would buy this thing.
The one of the major reasons that I would get this is the engine and the trans combo. Even though the trans isn't the quickest, most modern, but neither were the Toyotas, right?
Yeah.
Like, you buy a V6 because you knew it was going to last. And aside from the VCM stuff, which they've made some manufacturing improvements to that system. Aside from that, I mean, I like driving it. I don't know that I like it dynamically, but I think a lot of people that are just choosing it as that point A to point B family machine are going to enjoy
Yeah,
this.
and in the snow, particularly in this trail sport, it'd be badass.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Mark, with that, let's head into the final thoughts, sir.
Sounds good. We talked about it in the shop. We talked about it in the drive. Clearly, you're not choosing this generation Passport because it's got all the new stuff that you want from like Hyundai and Kia, even Toyota. It's kind of that in-between vehicle. Would I suggest or recommend this in an upper trim level versus some of the competitors? No. I think its value is, again, V6, tried and true, mostly drivetrain. It's a very soft riding car with the trail sport trim and the all-terrain tires. It's definitely more boaty, and if that's something you value, and the massive amount of space and mostly good ergonomics on the inside, I think you'll enjoy driving this, and I think you'll enjoy driving it even more if you can find yourself one of the used versions of it that came out several years ago. You're gonna save a lot of money, and it's a car that you're probably gonna have on the road for a long time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next video.